everyone, today I'm going to make a card with the new Christmas add-on for the Treat Lantern by iCrafter. We are going to make a fun shaker card with this, and we're not going to use the base die, which is the Treat Lantern, for it. We're just going to use these pieces that we have in the add-on, and we're going to use the words Merry Christmas from the rocker card. So let's get right into it. So this is a pretty quick card to put together. I thought about starting with this as my A2 base, but these little dies, they'll fit on it, but it's going to take a lot of effort to line them up and get them exactly correct. So what I would suggest doing is just cutting out 4 of these and leaving some space around them so that you can trim them to the exact size. And what I mean by that, let me show you what this looks like when it cuts out. Okay, here's the wrong way to do it. There's not even lines in between. You can see where my arrow pops up. I don't have even spaces in between these to cut out my squares, so I started over and did these each on their own separate piece. So this way makes more sense because I've got them lined up, but I can also cut a border around them, and that's what I'm doing here with this Works tool. Is I'm making a very specific border, trying to keep all of them as even as possible. And then I'm going to put 4 down on a piece of acetate and surround them with a little frame so it looks like it was just made for the card. On most projects I use a guillotine type trimmer, but a slide trimmer like this, when you're trying to get your details exactly right, is so nice to really get those super small lines and know exactly where you're going. So just FYI, if you're in the market for a tool, this Works tool is pretty awesome. So I'm going to end up with 4 of these, and I'm going to make myself a panel. I did end up popping out my lights because I want to be able to see the shaker pieces through it. I do want you to notice this super cute little heart that's the middle of the light bulb. That I think can be used in so many ways. I can't wait to use that on some type of Valentine card. So now it's time to put it on a piece of acetate. So you can see this acetate sheet right here. I'm going to lay this down and I'm going to even it up with the green just so that I've got my sheet where it would be on a card. So you'll see me do that and kind of tape it down just to make sure that everything is even. It's just one of those little things that I like to do to make sure I've got it right because I want this to be right in the center of the panel. So now it's time to get these stuck to the front of the acetate so it looks like a window you're looking through. Now with acetate normally I would be very cautious about gluing it, but I don't have a double-sided adhesive that is this small and fine, and I know that if I just do a little bit of glue, I hopefully won't have too much cleanup on that acetate. You can go back and clean the acetate up, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Alright, you can see that I definitely did get some glue on the acetate, so I'll have to go back and clean that up. But this looks like such a cute window. I love how that turned out. I do want to put a frame around it, and there's a couple reasons for this. One, I just think it looks cool to have a gold frame around it. But 2, I also need a place to hide my double-sided foam tape. And foam tape, it comes in a thin thing, but not this thin. So we're going to need to be able to hide that behind something. So we're going to cut some strips of gold and put it around the outside edges of this. So here are these little strips of gold that I've cut. I cut these and it's a gold foil paper. I also cut a similar strip and just backed it. So you can see I've got a darker color strip on the back, and that's just to give it a little bit more bulk. So it's going to stand up slightly higher than the red, but also just so that I can keep it in a straight line. I feel like with strips of paper like this, sometimes they want to bend and curve, and if you add another set of paper to the back, they're a lot better at staying straight. So here's how that looks up close, and you can see I've got glue marks and little things on my acetate. So I'm going to show you how I get that glue off the acetate. I use Q-tips and just dab them in water. You do not want this to be soaking wet, so make sure you dry it off or squeeze it out a little bit before you use it. And then you gently want to rub on the areas of glue to remove them. It's going to take a couple times, and it's nice to use the other end that's dry to kind of wipe it off. But you want to remember that, especially like this, when you're rubbing up against a cardstock, you don't want to put a ton of water there because your cardstock could warp and look strange. Worked on this for several minutes just to make sure I had the glue off, and you can see now it looks nice and clear, so it's a great window. Now it's time to make that shaker. This is my favorite part. I love all of the little fun, sparkly details that you can put in these. So I've got these 2 extra areas of acetate that I'm going to cut off just with my scissors, and then we're going to add some foam tape. One of my favorite time-saving tips with shaker cards is to use foam strips. So I'm going to use these skinny foam strips. These are, they come in all different widths and lengths, and this is just one that I had, and so I'm going to use this one, and this is the perfect width for that area. So I'm just going to go around the edges with this, and then I'll show you what the next step is. I always like to line up my window above the piece of paper, and that way I know where I can put shaker pieces. This is a fun shaker mix, and I'm going to use almost this whole bag because this shaker window is almost the whole card. So if you don't fill it up enough, it's going to look a little sparse. So I go ahead and put my shaker pieces on this, and then I'm going to lay the window down on top of it, which helps me not make as big of a mess as if I was trying to put these pieces in my shaker and I didn't get my card lined up as good as I wanted to. And always when you put a shaker window on, you want to make sure you use your powder tool around the inside edges of the adhesive. And so I've got the backing on the top, and that backing keeps me from getting the powder on the top part. You want to leave that on there before you powder. And then I'm going to powder along the insides of all of these edges, being very careful with my corners. And I'll probably add just a little bit of powder to the main part of the acetate because I feel like that helps your sequins and your mixes and stuff not have a ton of static and want to stick to the front panel. But I do this really well because I know that all of my little pieces are going to stick to those edges if they're sticky. So I even check it with my fingers, make sure I don't feel anything that's sticky before I put it down. So once I'm satisfied with all that powder, I can go ahead and start taking the backing off of the top adhesive, and I'll get that off, and then we're going to lay it down on the card. Okay, here goes for the moment of truth, laying it down, making sure that it works, because once you've laid it down, you can't really move it around. The foam tape does not come off easily, and you'll really mess up your card. So you want to make sure you lay it down the way you want to, and then really press it firmly. So you see I press it completely, make sure all of my sides are down because I don't want to go shaking those sequins and one of my sides is not completely sealed or it's going to make a mess. Isn't that beautiful? I just love shaker cards. I hope that y'all like this. Let's add a little bit more to it. To me, this really reminds me of a stained glass window, and I'm a little partial to stained glass windows. It's actually what my grandfather did as a job. He made stained glass, so I just think this looks so cute. I thought you could leave it like a window, or I could put this little Merry Christmas right in the middle and kind of tie it all together. This Merry Christmas is from the iCrafter set. That's the rocker card, and it's just it fits great on A2 cards. So I cut a piece of black, and then I cut a piece of the gold foil, and I'm going to layer those two together and make the black look a little bit like a shadow in the back. And that's all there is to this card. It's pretty simple. Really shouldn't take too long to make. We're going to stick that Merry Christmas down with some glue, and I'll show you what the final project looks like. All right, here are the final photos. I hope you enjoyed this project. I think it's something you could do quick and easy and get some Christmas cards taken care of. I hope that you all have a great day. Please make sure you hit the subscribe, like, and go through the link in the descriptions for these products. See you later. Bye.